Dental.
I'm Nick Canaggio.
And today we're going to be talking about children struggling throughout the world, more specifically child refugees and children locally here in Baltimore struggling. There are many children throughout the world who are born without a family or born into very dangerous areas. In Baltimore City, many children are born and experience violence on a daily and don't have family around with them. Pope Francis says, "Children are the joy of the family and of society. Children are a gift." So children are very important and we need to stop endangering them.
Seo Lee is a North Korean who was separated from her family from a very young age. It took her more than 10 years to reunite with them. As a child, she had to move to China as a child refugee and live with very distant relatives, and also constantly live in fear. There were many times where she was growing up where she was suspected and almost deported or sent to facilities for illegal immigrants. When she grew up, she had to spend all her money and risk her life in order to help her family escape from North Korea. My point? To show an example of what happens to child refugees. Child refugees deal with so much strife and heartache and stress throughout their now complicated lives. Globally, there are kids who are suffering because of the impact of war, that they start to become poor and homeless with barely enough food to feed themselves. More than half of Syria's refugees are children. Sometimes they are forced to be separated from their family members, which makes the experience even more frightening. Some children are born into a war-torn country and grow up without any education. Right now, if you were to ask a child refugee what they would want at that moment, they would ask for things most of us take for granted, like a warm house, food, and clothes. Some children die along the way to freedom in a new country. In some countries, young boys are sent to their deaths on the battlefield against their will. However, child refugees are not free even if they do escape and have to suffer something even worse: prejudice and discrimination. When they attend regular school again, they're constantly harassed by many of their peers and are bullied from where they had come from.
As many of you guys may know, Baltimore City can be a very dangerous area, and many children growing up are affected. More than 40% of children in Maryland experience traumatic events. Many children are up late at night hearing violence outside, and many of them don't have parents around them. There are sirens keeping them up, and many of them can get really impacted. 1/3 of these children experience post-traumatic stress disorder, similar to soldiers. So to me, it's really insane that children like these can be going through these deep psychological things in their life, because many soldiers don't really get through PTSD, or it just ruins their life. And the little children are going through that also. In Uptown and Druid Heights, the life expectancy is 10 years lower than the city average. This area is viewed as the most dangerous in Baltimore, and many children grow up here and they're just born into a bad area and they don't have a choice, but their lives are ruined. Also, scientists have done studies that the psychological influence of the violence and the crime near them really affects them, and this causes them to act out in classes, which ruins an opportunity for an education, because many teachers are just done with them. They just throw them out of their school and they're left to live on the streets and fend for themselves.
By now, you may be wondering how you can help children worldwide. There are many different ways you can help. One way to help is by donating online and by donating goods. If you do not know which organization to donate to, use Charity Navigator. It ranks charities and organizations based on efficiency, accountability, transparency, and financial health. If you want to find organizations that help children dying from malnutrition, you simply just go into the Hot Topics section of Charity Navigator and click organizations saving millions of children from malnutrition. If you want to find charities helping child refugees in the Syrian crisis, go into Hot Topics and click Syrian Crisis. If you want to do even more, you can start a fundraising campaign. You can collect donations or sell goods and donate the profits. Another way to help is by volunteering or going on a mission trip. If you are willing to, you can volunteer in organizations like the International Rescue Committee or go on a mission trip to another country. There are many different ways to help children. You can teach them English or other subjects, and you can collect and distribute food and supplies, and you can care for the children and provide basic support services. These are just a few of the many things you can do. If you do not want to travel, you can welcome a child into your home. At home, you can do many of the things I mentioned earlier about volunteering or going on a mission trip. Last but not least, speaking out can help enormously. By spreading awareness about the struggles children face, you can encourage and cause other people to help out too. Inspiring even one person to help is a tremendous deed. You can also talk to officials and make them aware of this issue. You can send representatives letters talking about the struggles children face.
How can we help locally? You can volunteer through a program called Promise Heights, which sets you up to volunteer at different places in your area. So you can just enter your zip code and it'll hook you up with some great places to volunteer. You can also serve at less fortunate schools like Holy Angels and Little Flowers Daycare. And I've been lucky enough to recently go to Holy Angels, and the kids there are great. They're just like less fortunate and they live in bad areas, and most of them don't have family members around, and they really need someone in their life to help them and guide them. You can also donate to the IRS in Baltimore or the Youth Empowered Society, also known as YES. And here at the school we have done drives for YES, which is cool. So how does this all tie into solidarity? So as you guys heard earlier, solidarity is unity that produces or is based on community of interests, objectives, and standards. Solidarity in this instant is a group working together for peace. We need peace for children, and our theme of children's safety really depends on a group of people willing to help children here in Baltimore and worldwide. The Catholic Church, as expected, believes that we should help others and go out of our way to make sure everyone is great. So we should really help others and help children.
In conclusion, I hope you've learned the problems children face both worldwide and locally. I hope you took our message to heart, and I hope you will spread it. I encourage you to learn more about the struggles children face and to do your best to help. Thank you for your time.